Hi, everyone. This is your host, Jess. This is the Resilient and Rowdy podcast. And today I have Deseret with me. Hello. Hey, Des.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Well, my name is Deseret Fournier for all y'all that want to IG me or at Deseret Grace. I don't care, whatever. So I am here because I know Jess from the military. We used to be in the same unit. She was a chemical soldier and I was the military police officer in our unit. And also here just to talk girl talk and talk about whatever comes to mind. So I'm just very excited to be here.
Good. I'm so glad that you wanted to come on, and I saw you through social media, and it's been really nice to just see you progress and what you've been getting into after I got out. You were still in for a bit, and you said now you're in reserves.
Yes, I'm now in the reserves. I've been in the reserves since the beginning of 2016, so about 5.5 years.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoy the reserves a little bit better than active duty. Not as much pressure and a little bit more autonomy, which is great. So
yeah, okay, I love hearing that. That's understandable.
yeah.
But so I definitely wanted to just reach out to you and, pick your brain and highlight you because I remember you being a really badass, young lieutenant, and with your deployment to AFRICOM and preparing for that, being in already male dominated sector. Even within that sector, there's still very few women, and I love the way that you were able to command a room and take charge and kind of put these men into place. So what was your experience like from your perspective?
Yeah, well, just a quick background. So I actually grew up in a military family. My father was a command sergeant major. He actually retired as a master sergeant, though. They took away his sergeant major rank. And for those that don't know, it's the highest enlisted rank. But he was in for 27 years. And then my older brother is currently he's been in for over 20 years. He's in first group. So that's all I'm going to say about that because it has to be a little bit secretive. So I've been around a lot of males growing up and those who are very alpha male. And so I naturally became somewhat of an alpha female. My mother is also a pretty strong woman, so there's a lot of alphas in our house and a lot of arguments that could have resulted in us having maybe a reality show. We've talked about it so many times. But just getting into the military, I initially was going to go Navy, but they weren't going to allow me to progress to become an officer or get my college degree before signing the contract. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a college degree before getting in. And then the Army allotted me the opportunity to do so. And so joined the Army, commissioned in 2011. So I've been an officer for over 10 years, which is crazy to say. And bright-eyed, bushy-tailed lieutenant coming to Fort Riley, Kansas. As a military police officer, I knew I was going to be in a male-dominated sector. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to change who I was coming into it because I see myself as a very nice person initially, because if I don't know you, I'm not going to be rude to you. So I'm also going to treat people the way I want to be treated. So even if you are the highest rank or the lowest rank, I'm going to talk to you like a person, not like scum, like some of the other officers. I won't mention names. But with that being said, I came in just, wanting to have a well-cohesive unit. And then I quickly noticed that a lot of individuals, mainly males, as stated, because the military is male-dominated, and the unit that we were in was very male-dominated. I somewhat had to show them that I wasn't anybody to, am I allowed to cuss? Fuck with? Like,
Yeah,
okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I
me,
cuss a
like,
lot.
come on. Yes.
um, I didn't want to be messed with because, you know, I didn't want to be perceived as quote unquote weak, because females sometimes are seen as weak. So I was a little bit more assertive than I naturally wanted to be. But in a way, it helped because military police are very assertive. And so I kind of found my groove in that. I also was noticed a lot by the leadership in a good way because of it, because I wouldn't let the boys kind of pick on me. You know, I'm pretty good at roasting people and making fun of people and just being very sarcastic. So when people did fuck with me, I kind of was like, okay, I'm just going to have to put you in your place. Right. And a majority of the time I did. And when I didn't, we would have backhanded conversations, and that would be fine too. But never in front of the lower enlisted or the enlisted in general, because these were mainly officers that were trying to diminish me or throw me under a bus. And I had to keep it professional at times. Yeah. And usually that spoke volumes versus trying to embarrass people in front of leadership, because I have been spoken to disrespectfully in front of leadership, and I've had to hold my tongue. But when leadership was gone, it kind of was like, you know, gloves off in a way.
Yeah. No, it's really good. And that sometimes can be the latter, but it unfortunately like isn't really surprising to hear. Like that's not the first time that I've heard that like the officer side can be a little like cutthroat, at least for the junior officers. So yes. It's I don't know, it is what it is. Like I get it, but like you would think that you know, after a couple of years in college at maybe ROTC, it wouldn't be that way. So yeah, I'm proud to see that you know, you kept your chin up and you didn't take, you know, shit from anyone. Like that was what I really admired.
I really appreciate that. And to kind of go back on what you said, yes, the officer world is very cutthroat, especially for junior officers, because when you first come to a unit, you're looking for a spot. And if there's not a spot for you as a platoon leader, because that's the first spot that you want to be in charge of a unit, you are going up to staff and you're going in the operations section. And that is an area where a lot of junior lieutenants hated being, because you were there from 6 a.m. to maybe 7 or 8 p.m. and you're writing operations because some major doesn't like the fact that you put the word the instead of the word then or some shit like that. You know, that's just an example. I thankfully was never up in the operations as a junior enlisted. As a lieutenant, the highest or closest I got was I was the battalion adjutant for our battalion commander, which wasn't even a place because I wasn't even supposed to be there after a while because I was an MP and there were no MPs allowed. But because I was number one in the unit, which, you know, no big deal, but I mean, sorry,
brag. I love it.
Humble brag. He wanted me to kind of be his glorified secretary. And in a way that kind of was the reason why I got out of active duty, because I just I didn't join the military to serve coffee to fucking officers. You know what I mean? Like I joined the military to help soldiers and to progress my leadership skills and see what I can do to better our military, even if it's just a small part.
Yeah.
I didn't like getting yelled at because I didn't keep him on his schedule because he would walk out of the office at his own time and take his time, and other captains are like, what the fuck, Lieutenant? It's like, I'm sorry, no, we're not doing this. Yeah. And like, as a lieutenant, I didn't have the rank, and I remember being told by one of the majors up in the operations shops, like, man, I remember when lieutenants used to shut their mouths when people would talk to them, and I just kind of looked at him like, you scrawny motherfucker. Like, I wish we can go outside. You know what I mean? Like, I wish. Like, there were so many times where I just wanted them to like catch these hands and and you had to just kind of be like, okay. You know, unfortunately, he probably is a little bit further in his career. In a way, I kind of hoped he got like medically discharged or like left the military at one point because he couldn't get any other higher rank. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I found out that the individual I was an adjutant for is now a pretty high up full bird colonel for the engineer corps. And I was like, interesting, sir.
I'm trying to remember who that could be, but I'm drawing a blank.
I will do the private chat. I will send that to you.
Okay. But no, really, I mean, I do applaud you, and I mean, yeah, just kudos to you for really just like knowing when to, you know, tactfully and gracefully, you know, just walk away or I don't know, but you did an exemplary job of just, you know, commanding the room, you know, and not taking any shit. And yeah, I'm glad to hear that reserves is a better fit for you. Like it, I don't know, like it is what it is, but sometimes active duty isn't really all that matters.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. You know, that's kind of what I mean, I didn't want to go in there to like just to command a room. I wanted to go there, you know, in the military to help people and just to know that I really appreciate it. But to add to the reserves, I appreciate the reserves a little bit more because everybody at the end of the day is a civilian and they have their civilian jobs that is full time. And the military for the reserves is part time. It's the 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year thing that you see on the commercials. Mm-hmm. And luckily, I'm a part of a unit, so I am a team chief currently for a observer controller trainer unit. For those who don't know, those are people that somewhat grade those soldiers for deployment to make sure that they're ready. And so I am a team chief for our military police section. And the lowest rank that we have is an E5 or a sergeant. And so we don't have any junior enlisted, and we're all leaders and we all treat each other as such. And it's actually, I love the unit. It's a blessing and soldiers are so good.
Awesome. So as an officer, remind me, like, are you obligated to do reserves, or like what's your like contract situation look like? Like what, like, because it like you resign your commission or what? I don't know. Tell me about it.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So I signed my ROTC contract. I didn't get any scholarship, so I was still paying for my own college. Or my dad and my mom were helping me out. Let's be honest. They said they would pay as long as I stayed in school and stayed at the house, which I'm like, okay, deal. Yeah. Which was very nice. But I also went to a pretty cheap college at the time. When college was cheap, this was about 12 years ago. So it's not like the spikes that are there now where people are just millions of dollars in student debt. But my contract, it was 3 years active duty, 3 years reserves.
Okay.
I ended up doing 4 to 5 years active duty, and I've been in the reserves for about 5 to 6 years. So I am, my contract technically ends whenever I say that I want to put in my resignation my resignation for the military. Mm-hmm. But because I'm already halfway there, I'm just going to stay in, and I'm just going to, it only makes sense. I'm halfway, what is another 10 years of reserve? That's fine with me.
That's so exciting. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, yeah, I hear you and I applaud that. Good for you. And just 10 more years.
I know. It's going to be here before we know it. So, might as well, we'll see what happens. I am actually up for my major board next year. So,
oh, that's exciting.
See what happens. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just the gold stuff where, where it's the rank where people don't know what you do because you technically don't do anything. But
I love it. I mean, you're keeping it real.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like you don't get command time. It's like, what, you're going to be in charge of a staff section? Cool, got it. It is what it is.
So after active duty, what did you start doing as like a full-time job or career?
Yeah, so I actually have done a multitude of jobs. The main reason why I got out is because I wanted to get my master's degree. So I went back to school, got my master's degree in kinesiology. So that way I could kind of get like so the option was mental skills, which is kind of like sports psychology in a way. So I was able to find out more about that. And I truly didn't know what I wanted to do with it because I'm the type of person that everybody always kind of counted out growing up or saying like, you can't do this. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get my master's. You can't tell me that I can't get my fucking master's degree. Like, I'm going to get my master's degree. And I got it. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's my tagline, I guess, for the rest of the show. But got my master's degree, but I also worked at a physical therapy office for a while. I was a personal trainer for a while. And then in 2019, so my reserve unit, every 4 to 5 years, we activate for a year to Fort Hood, Texas to do our job. Mm-hmm. And so I was back on active duty for a year full time.
Okay.
And I liked it a lot. I actually did like the job. I was in charge of what's called our green team, which was our range operation, drivers training operations, language classes. So we were in charge of all the training. And then after halfway, I was halfway through, I became the company commander for my unit. So I got some command time in, and then early 2020, we came back in February, and then March we shut down. But luckily, I got a job, which I actually currently hold now. Mm-hmm. I am a safety coordinator for a construction company or general contractor. So my job was very instrumental because of COVID and because of my quote unquote medical background and my degrees. I was able to help out, and they like me. So, I mean, and I actually really like the company I work with. I have no complaints other than sometimes people complain too much about training because I'm in charge of the training of the company. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you can complain all you want, but this is the requirement. So I don't know what you want me to do.
Right. Like, would you rather do this training, or do you want the violation from OSHA? Like,
exactly. I'm so glad you know what OSHA is, because I was like,
all the OSHA jokes.
All the OSHA. Oh my God. Yeah. We literally had a meeting yesterday about it, and I won't go too much into it, but some of the people were like, well, why do we need to do this course if it was in OSHA 30? And we had to be like, OSHA 30 is for supervisors, but this actually certifies you in what you're supposed to do. And they were still complaining. And my boss like called me to vent, because I guess one of the great things about the military, and hence part of the name of your podcast, is that we're a little bit more resilient than others. So I told him that if he ever needs to vent and not take that energy home, to give me a call. So that way you're like, hey, don't take the energy home. This is how we become resilient, and this is how we think things through. Just yell at your gripes. And we kind of just griped to each other for a good half hour yesterday. And it was just one of those things where it's so annoying that it's like, it kind of brought me back to how, and again, I'm not discrediting any enlisted, but it brought me back to when I was a junior officer, and the platoon sergeants or the section leaders would try to get over on me and then complain after I'm trying to give them autonomy. It's just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to fucking pull back now, because you want to just, it's just like, I'm giving you so much and I'm fighting for you. Like, you don't know what the fuck is coming from the top. You don't know, because I'm filtering it. So you know what? I'm just going to be very apparent with you. This is what's happening. Here you go. You know, and so it kind of reminded me of that. I'm like, okay, I've been through this before. So
some
but
really like, oddly, interesting flashbacks, but that's funny. And I'm really glad that you found this, this job and that you're really enjoying it. That's always a really nice, unexpected blessing. So.
It's very unexpected. And what's really funny about it is after I got out of active duty, because we were part of an engineer unit, I swore to myself I would never work with construction or engineers ever again. Like I was like, fuck them. And now I literally work for a general contractor and am around so much construction. I'm like, you know what, whatever. We're going to have to deal with this every now and again. It's just really funny.
You would be surprised. Like, it's like you put that out and ironically it came back around. Like,
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Again, tagline, just do the whole, like, the more you know with the rainbow.
Yeah, the more you know. No, but seriously, because I said the same thing with dating, and I was like, all right, I'm done with military men. Done. And literally all that I meet, whether I'm trying to or not, not just, and it's not even from my nonprofit side. It's like in my personal life, I'm meeting other veterans and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I have a personal rule. Like, and I'm like, and that's, so I'm just like,
yeah,
it's biting me in the butt now. So same thing. So.
Oh, I completely understand the whole thing with dating. I mean, like, I've talked to you offline kind of somewhat about my ex, but I've always told myself, I'm like, I'm a strong woman. I will never be a part of an abusive relationship. Luckily it never got physical, but thankfully I've come out of it and I've learned, and now I know what I want and I have boundaries. So it's kind of great in that sense.
And
but
it's crazy that like as like 20 somethings we didn't know these boundaries that are incredibly like fulfilling, and they really build that like solid foundation that you need as a person, as a woman, as a lady, whatever, to not tolerate that, to know that you're above that, you deserve more. But for those types of relationships, it's very sneaky sometimes what they do. So like you beat yourself up, I've beat myself up for it. Like, oh, how could I be so stupid? Like, one, you have those rose-colored glasses on, and two, again, it's very sneaky. It can be very subtle, and you don't think it's abuse.
It's okay. Okay.
But how did you kind of like start realizing that, hey, like this isn't normal or good behavior, like this isn't what I want, this isn't,
Well, I didn't realize it wasn't what I want until after he broke up with me for the millionth time. So
y'all like he often cut things off.
So just, I guess, like a background in how I am as an individual to how it makes sense. So I personally blame rom-coms from the 90s because I'm a very, very, very like, I romanticize love because I just want to be loved, as everybody does. And growing up, I felt like there were only a few people that really like loved me, but I never had like that romantic love really in a way. Yeah. And I would look for it in the wrong reason or the wrong people at the wrong times. And, and with this relationship, he was my friend first. And then one night I kind of just drunkenly made my move and we started dating before we made it quote unquote official. And I should have known that it never was going to work or anything because so he is or was, I don't know, haven't checked on him in over a year, haven't spoken to him in over a year. Yep, been very good about that. we'll just say is a deputy sheriff or a sergeant, like he's a cop.
Yeah.
So he was telling me about his undercover work, about how he used to go by other names and, have to do all these things. And this was before our first official date. And my brain said, red flag, red flag, red flag. But why would my brain say it and I don't listen to it? Because I just wanted to be loved and felt by from when, we first kissed and everything, because we kissed before our first date. And so I was just like, oh, I just want to be loved, and I wasn't in a good place mentally at the time either when we first started. So this was in January of 2016, 2017, one of those years. And then we went on a trip to Tahoe. He asked me to be his girlfriend, and I was like, yes. And then after we came back, he ghosted me for 2 weeks and officially broke up with me on Valentine's Day. And I'm like, got it. And so I was hurt for 2 months before I saw him again. Mm-hmm. And then it was kind of like a never ending cycle of okay, off and on. But for some reason, he would always break up with me on Valentine's Day. So the next Valentine's Day, he broke up with me. And then the final Valentine's Day he broke up with me is Valentine's Day 2020. And the sad thing was he was supposed to meet my mother and my family that day. And we were out to dinner and I was looking bomb, but I was a little bit drunk because I was like, I'm going to drink some wine while I get ready. And I had some good ass makeup. I was, my parents were there, my brother, my sister-in-law, my nephew. And then I finally invited my then roommate, who is such a great person. I don't have a roommate anymore. I live by myself now, which it's actually kind of cleansing, but we were all there. And then all of a sudden he texted me. He was just like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I just remember just fucking crying. And I'm just like, he did it again. I knew he was going to do this. And my mom was just like, she means well, but sometimes she does that I told you so thing. And I'm like, Mom, I don't need to fucking hear it. You know what I mean? I don't need that. I just need support.
Yeah.
And I remember texting him and calling him a pussy. And I was just like, you piece of shit. How fucking dare you? Just you weak man, you can't even do this to my face.
Yeah, no, that's the truth.
It's the straight up truth. I've only had one person break up with me technically face to face, but it was through video camera. Okay. Nobody, when I was in a relationship, it's always been the other person kind of breaking up with me because I'm always one to want to make it work. Because again, this is me wanting to be loved and love other people. Mm-hmm. And the one person that broke up with me through face, I was just like, he's like, I think we should see other people. I was like, I fucking knew you were going to do this. And, but this guy, I'm just like, you fucking pussy, you pussy. And then COVID hit. And then a few months later was his birthday. And every year for his birthday, I kind of caved in. And so, he kind of talked me into going to go see him. And let's be honest, he just wanted vagina. That's all he wanted. And he knew I still somewhat loved him and I was going to give it to him. And I did. Let's be blunt. But in my mind, I was just like, you know what? This will tell me if I should still work on this or not, Yeah. And it was the worst sex I've ever had. And I was like, never again. Not at all. No more.
Yeah.
And that's when I started moving on. I kind of see myself now as a phoenix who rose from the ashes.
Yeah. Okay.
I just I went through a huge breakdown, a few months later.
Okay.
And I was still I was, as everybody during COVID, was drinking, but I was drinking a little bit more because of everything just to try to cope. And I started having to think to myself, like, am I a fucking alcoholic? Like, am I, I'm having to drink every single day to drown myself. And then like, I started having like, a mental breakdown because I was just like, it was one of the first times in a while I was just like, I don't want to be here right now. And so I started having a panic attack. And instead of like, just calling somebody, I signed up for therapy. And luckily, therapy through apps help. And so I thank my former therapist, shout out to Frankie, but I unfortunately can't afford her anymore, but every now and again, she said, here's my number, text me. And luckily I haven't, because I've been, going through my own like fitness and health journey and just getting somewhat sober. And I say somewhat because I'm, force myself not to drink unless it's like a celebration and I'm with people and not by myself. That, I'm just like doing a lot better. And what's funny though about this piece of shit guy, so I laugh at this. He legit, until I blocked him. So he was also a soldier. That's how I met him. And he was in my unit. And he was another officer, so I wasn't in charge of him or anything. Until he got out in March of 2021, I had to keep all lines of communication kind of open because I was the commander. And so he would like text me, be like, I wish that I knew I loved you, which by the way, he never told me he loved me in the 3 years that we were together, but through like a huge, like fucking novel text message. It's just like, I wish I knew I loved you, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. We could have a perfect life together. And I was just like, I just straight up said, unless it's about military, do not talk to me. I will not entertain this. Like, we're done. Like, I'm sorry, but we're done. And the fact that I even would say I'm sorry, it's just kind of like, why am I trying to be nice about it? I'm not sorry. We're done. Yeah. And so finally, he got out. His contract ended March 1st of this year. And midnight, I blocked him on everything. Email, text message. I found his secret Instagram because I'm that bitch, and I blocked him. Like, I'm like, you're done. And he hasn't been able to reach out since. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I applaud that.
It's been a glorious time, and I'm very glad that it's over because again, he came into my life to show me what I didn't want. And it was like the worst, the worst that I could see in a person. It's really sad because he was a good friend.
Yeah.
But he's just a shitty person in a relationship. And he would always like blame me for everything. Like his ex-wife would complain about something and he would blame me for that. I'm like, how that fucking work? And then he would always like say shit about, so he had 2 ex-wives. I mean, I don't know if I'm like, being blunt about that, but here's the thing. Like if you have 2 ex-wives, who's the fucking common denominator? Like I'm looking back at this, like who's the common denominator? And he'd be like, they're crazy. Okay. Got it.
Red flag, period. But also, like, I get it. Like, that's such a cliche thing to say. And because of, my last serious relationship, I'm like, no, I want to hear it. What was so crazy about her? Did you, disrespect her constantly? Did you, not fulfill what your promises? Like, did you manipulate her? Did you gaslight her? Like, or was she like actually acting irrational and out of proportion? Like, I need specifics, because that can just dictate like how he could probably treat you or talk about you. And I'm just like,
yeah, it's like if you don't give us specifics now, and I feel, I feel like you and I are on the same page of this. If you don't give us specifics about how the last relationship ended, like, and you just constantly say, well, she's crazy, it's just like, but how? Because everybody's crazy in a sense, if you think about it. Nobody's normal. Like, you think people are fucking normal? If people are normal, they're robots. and their Stepford wives. Like that's legit what quote unquote normal is. Like we don't live in the 50s anymore, guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, some places they do.
They want to go back for some fucking reason, but
right.
I think honestly, like I guess like that's actually a really great thing that you brought up, because it actually kind of goes into the illusion of these rom-coms and Disney movies, like that this love story is so easy and like so easy to find. Like the 1950s basically like glorifies like this illusion of the perfect family, the perfect relationship, like like the sweet little background music and like the white picket fence, your husband comes home from work and a dinner's already made. Like it doesn't show you the nitty-gritty about relationships. It doesn't show you the real and raw. It's usually like the woman is in distress for some reason always, and the man saves her in some way, shape, or form. And okay, like it's nice. It's nice having someone that can be there for you in times of need, but truly, like, you're not the first person to say that. And I also had to wake up to my role in that relationship, even though it was at one point it was a good relationship and healthy, and then it wasn't. And so I needed to see, like, I couldn't just point fingers and say like, oh well, he did this, he did that. What did I do? I had to acknowledge that, hey, I was really depressed at the time. I wasn't putting effort into the relationship at one point, and XYZ. So it's also like taking accountability of what you did or what you didn't do in that previous relationship, so that you can do it in the next one. You don't do it with this new amazing person in front of you. Like, this is your opportunity to get it right, and put that work in. And when two people come together 100%, excuse me, I think you can finally have like what we really truly want, is just a fulfilling partnership and love. Like, absolutely, like, who doesn't want to be loved?
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, like it's not just one person's fault. Like I, same as you, wasn't in a good place mentally when we first started the relationship, and I just had this idea of what it should be and was trying to cater to that versus what it really was. And so I was a little bit delusional, but again, in a way, and I know that you probably agree, like we had to go through that and we had to heal through that to see what we truly want, and to see who we are. Because ultimately, if you're not in a good place and you don't love yourself, as RuPaul says, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? And it's so true. Like, you can't love anybody else if you don't love yourself. And so you have to put that work into yourself before you could portray that with other people, because you shouldn't have to rely on anybody else for happiness. Like, I think that's unfortunately what a lot of women nowadays do, just because we want that love. And who's to say that men don't do that too? I mean, nobody's perfect.
Right.
And even if it is the quote unquote perfect relationship, where it's never going to be without work, because everybody's different. And if it's worth it, you make it work. If it's not, then you got to put your energy somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you made a really great point. And dang it, I just spaced out. Fuck me.
You're doing great.
Why am I so spacey? Okay, so you had a really great point that you can't rely on one person or just one thing to fulfill that void or fulfill that happiness. Like, again, find that within yourself, but also that's really unfair. That's a lot to put on another person. And I have done that, so I get it. But also, as cheesy as that saying is, like, I think that I didn't really love myself. I was still trying to figure out who I was, and also struggling with mental health and stuff. So just a multitude of things. And so it was realizing that that relationship kind of like took all, like he took all the like the best of me, and as well as other circumstances. So, I look at it now with kinder eyes, but I still kind of like beat myself up because I was like, well, maybe if I wasn't going through this, like it would have worked out. But now I just leave it at, hey, like you had to learn that lesson. Like it was either going to be me facing that circumstance and accepting what it was, what it wasn't, and what I want from love and a relationship, and also like what I'm willing to tolerate as a person and as a human being, and as a woman. Like I was like, yikes. And yeah, it was a really tough pill to swallow, but that's a mistake and a lesson that I'm not gonna go through again, because that was the last.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
it's having to break that cycle and be honest about it too. So
I definitely agree. I feel like in a way that's like the military in us, because if we don't do anything like perfectly, we're always so hard on ourselves. And, it, it's hard to break that, because at the end of the day, they always say like soldier for life. It's so true, because that's like the mentality that is like ingrained in us.
yeah.
And we want to try to find ways to make things work, because it's not like you can't take no for an answer, but it's like, how can we get this done?
Yeah, absolutely. Like being solution like based, and that's like the most productive thing, because again, being around a lot of and being junior enlisted, yeah, you do hear a lot of the gropes and complaining, E4 mafia, holla. But but then I'm like, okay, this gets us nowhere. Let's come up with some solutions so that we can move past this and move forward, like carry on. I was just like, bitching and moaning isn't going to do shit. And
Yeah.
and looking back now, I wish that even the times that I did bitch and moan, like I wouldn't have. I'm like, it gets worse. Like,
Yeah.
But overcoming this relationship and working on you, how has that like kind of turned out for you? Like, are you appreciating, this singlehood and this opportunity to like truly like get to know you and just like be your best self? Like, I think you're doing some great things. So it seems like you're doing a lot better.
Yeah. And no, thank you for noticing. I for sure love the singlehood right now. I'm not on any dating apps. I don't give a shit about them at all,
You're not missing
because
out on
at
anything.
the end of the day, like people are just really just horny individuals and just want one thing. And, it's the first time in a while that I want to be single, and I've never felt like that before, because I really love my peace. Like I love my peace and quiet. I love my schedules. I talked to a few people within the last few months. Currently, somewhat talking to somebody now, but like we just started, like legit yesterday. So he's a very nice guy and he's very handsome, but I mean, I'm not expecting anything, if that makes sense. Like I'm just like, you know what, we can talk and get to know each other. Like,
Sounds like you're just going with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like if I try to plan out our wedding, that's not going to work out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to honestly, like I don't want to romanticize any more relationships or with when it starts, because
let me just delete that Pinterest board. Speaking of, no, that's good. Like you're really truly just taking it a step at a time. If it goes this way, that's awesome. If it doesn't, you're good. But I feel you. Like my peace of mind, not being lied to, not being all that BS. Like I really like, I've made my bedroom like my sanctuary. I've got a good new life going. I'm in a new city. Like I am all about that. So I'm really glad to hear that from you.
Oh yeah. No, I'm glad to hear that from you. What city are you in, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in Atlanta now. So
ooh, hell yeah. I've never been, but I've heard great things. I heard it's like a lot up and coming. And I'm super rooting for the Braves right now, because fuck Houston. No offense, but
yeah, go Braves.
I'm an A's fan, Oakland A's fan. If they stay in Oakland, I don't know if they are, whatever, still my team.
Yeah.
Don't appreciate a team that is within the league that cheats. So,
you said it, boom. True.
Or as I like to call them, the Trastros, because they bang on trash cans.
Shots fired. I love it.
Make that the clip.
I will. Yeah, so I'm kind of from here. My family's here. It's been, up and down, but I've been just embracing this new chapter and yeah, just getting back into the pod. But speaking of, you've got a podcast coming up. Tell me about that. What made you want to get into it? All that. Tell us.
So before I forget, it's called the Bitch How podcast. It is first stream is going to be on December 1st. So look out for that. It's on a Wednesday, so it's very fitting for hump day. Me and my sister-in-law, so Ruby is her name. We have become such great friends since I got back from the active duty from Fort Hood. Mm-hmm. And through the pandemic, and she's been somewhat of my rock, and I feel like I've been somewhat of hers. Hopefully, she'd probably be like, "Nah, bitch," but whatever. I mean, it is cool. We've always been very creative, mindset wise. I've always been very what's that word? It's like unconventional in ways that, I've wanted to make money as long as it's, you're my cat. I
want to hear
and my dog. So my dog is chasing my cat right now. So let's go back. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So the reason why we technically got started on the podcast is because we've been very unconventional in what we want to do. And whenever we talk, it's always comical and it's always just a great conversation and it's so fucking random. And I've always wanted to share myself with people and open up, but I've always wanted to open up and share myself with people at the right time. And I feel like, why not now? And Ruby is the same way. She was just, she's just like, I want to start. And I'm like, okay, let's start. And so legit the day that we said we're going to start, we made our Instagram page and we're like, fuck it, we're going to do it. And so we start our first session this Saturday and we're just going to talk about how we are getting started. And we plan on talking about everything from, horoscopes to relationships. Her family is from Mexico, so she's going to talk a little bit about her family. I come from a military family. I'll talk a little bit about that without going too much into detail that get people hurt. But and we'll have guests when we get a little bit bigger. And I'm just excited. We're doing audio streaming, and we're going to do YouTube. So we are starting off big. Go big or go home. Yeah. So we're just going to be talking a lot of shit, and it's going to be fun, and just very, very excited. I have my money drawing candle going as we talk about this, so I am manifesting, and we know it's going to be big. We know. It's all a matter of just getting it out there and just letting people enjoy it.
Yeah,
and see what happens.
So. I'm excited. Okay, so I will have that linked up. You're on Instagram. You're going to be on YouTube. I'm so excited for you. Where will y'all be doing it in studio together, or like is she in another spot? Like y'all are.
We're going to be together. So we're going to be doing it out of her house. So she is a mom of a beautiful toddler named Dylan Jr. Love him so much. He is a devil, but we love him. But because he's so wild, it's kind of like, okay, let's do it at your house. We have a whole setup going. We could have done it at my house, but unfortunately, she has to keep Junior with her, and Junior's allergic to pet dander, and because I have 2 pets, we can't have it here, but that's okay.
But perfect. Yeah, it's so much fun just getting together, and I'm really glad that you like pointed out. You're like, bitch, we're hilarious. Like, we need a podcast.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Honestly, it's better to go for it and try than look back and be like, I should have at least done something,
I hate that mindset. Like, I should have done this, and I think that goes back with like, the relationships we got out of, like, I should have done this. Okay. But you didn't. So how are we gonna move forward?
Yeah.
So, like we're starting this podcast. I am currently, I am a certified NASA nutrition coach. So I'm trying to start that business on the side, on top of what I'm doing now, because I want to, because I want to help people. She is a freelance photographer. She's trying to start that business. My younger brother is starting a new t-shirt company. And once he makes me my crop top, like I told him to, for my birthday, which is in a few weeks, I'm going to show it off. And it's like, his work so far is so good. So I'm very, we're just excited to just say, fuck it, just start these businesses, and like, let's just make that income. Let's have fun. Let's be our own bosses and just do what we want, because like, life is too fucking short to not do what we want.
Yeah, exactly. This is awesome. I'm so glad that you're just stepping into your light and your power, and just, and yeah, you're doing it. Like, again, just putting action to words. And I'm just really excited to hear the first episode and what else like you guys have to share and offer. So,
Thank you.
Is Ruby also on social media?
Yes, so she is at Rubizi. I will put the actual spelling in the chat.
Link that.
Yeah, she's at Rubizi. I'm at Deseret Grace. I'll put that spelling there too. And then my brother, for his business page, is at Real Boy Sneakers. All one word. He did it, not me. Like,
I was going to say, do you have 2 brothers?
So I have 2 brothers. I have an older brother who's military, and a younger brother who he is an assistant manager at a very nice burger chain that I will not say the name, because you don't want to get people fired. So
I thought
he likes it.
You had like a younger brother. I guess the older brother was news to me.
Yeah, well, my older brother's my half brother. Like, I have an older sister too, but she's half, and I don't like ever talk about them, just because, with my older sister, like, we're not that close. Like, she's a nice person, she's a good person. We're just, we just don't.
Like any difference, or like a big difference?
She is 8 years older than me.
Yeah,
it's not that bad, but
yeah, but that kind of makes sense. Like, like, she was already 8 years old and you were like a baby, and she's like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah, it's also a lot of like, I guess, animosity too, for like her to me. And she was always like, growing up, she was always kind of mean to me, like how sisters are. Yeah. And, I'm a type of person, like, I'll forgive, but I won't forget. So, and you can tell a lot of it's, still here. Like, she's just like, well, I'm the oldest. I'm like, okay, you're the oldest. Got it.
Yep.
Cool.
Whatever.
Yeah, stay girl. But we're not, we're close, but we're not that close. And then my older brother, like, he has his own thing going, and you can't share too much. So I don't,
right. Yeah.
I don't ever talk about it. But the one person I can talk about, who I'm closest age in, is my younger brother. And he's such, he's grown exponentially within the past 5 years, like, mentally. And he's such a good man, and I'm so proud of him. And so I just, I don't want to brag too much about him, because this,
but that's not cool that y'all are going to be able to like get together and like, help each other out on both of y'all's like little adventures. So that's really cool. So you're going to have to explain the orange hands. I'm sorry. You're going to have to do it. Let's talk about it. And also, a little congratulations is in order for your placements. So I'd love to hear about your journey in all that.
I feel like we're talking about me too much. I want to ask so much about you.
Really? Talk about me.
And I guess the one thing, just because now that we're on like the podcast question, like what got you started? Because this is such a great podcast. Like I actually listened to you and your roommate today, and I was laughing, like snorting, laughing. So I just wanted, like, what made you want to start?
Okay, so my second semester at the University of Colorado, Denver. So I got out of the Army, went back to Atlanta for a little bit, went to Athens, went to a community college to kind of like slowly baby step into full-time college, went to UGA, and then that boyfriend and I decided like, hey, let's move to Colorado. Like we both love it. If we can do it, let's do it. So we did it. So I ended up at the University of Colorado, Denver, love it. And that second semester, I was reached out by another woman who was also a veteran, and she had already set up her own little podcast, and she was looking for a co-host. So she basically said like, hey, like it's this platform, like we're all about, girl power and like female empowerment, feminism. It's giving just a seat at the table for what all the other military podcast guys are doing. And so there weren't really that many female podcasts out at the time. So we were pretty up there at the time. And I was just really excited. I was like, I've been through a lot of shit, and I'm slowly building my confidence, and I'm finding my voice. I'm not afraid to speak out anymore. And I don't have anyone telling me that I can't or that I'm not important enough to speak out on whatever. So I know that I have a voice, literally and figuratively, and I can command a room. And if I want to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to be as honest as I can, because I'm so sick of the lies or glossing over things. Like that's truly where we fall through the cracks and we don't learn. And I'm just like fed up with so much that I'm like, you know what? I have a lot of things to say. So why not? And I was a college student again, like I got out of the military, I'm retired, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And so like she said that it was, a platform to just say how you feel. And each of us had kind of like a movement that we were really powered up about and inspired. So I spoke up a lot about military sexual assault, because the first year in the Army, I was assaulted. So multiple different ways, like physically and then sexually. Like I was like, great. No one fucking told me this, because we're all like army of one. And I'm just like, that's that bullshit that I'm tired of, It's like, hey, no, ladies, protect yourself. Like men too. So I was invited onto a platform, and it was part of that kind of like big veteran drinking culture type of stuff, but it was so much fun. I made two good friendships out of that, and it was a really cool phase of life. And slowly, things started to change, but I loved podcasting. I loved the people that I met, and like I'm really easygoing, so I felt like I was kind of good at it, and I just wanted to keep hearing these stories and sharing these stories so that people can feel heard, but also that they can inspire others that like, hey, like I've been through this, maybe you have too. Maybe a friend of yours has, and this is the best way to go about it or talk about it or help them out or be there in whatever way you can. So by having these open discussions and being real and raw about it, like I truly want people to step into their power, find their voice, and live their best lives, because what better way to just tell people like that they can do it, that they're capable. Like I feel like I'm kind of doing it because I wish I had that at that time when I was struggling. So like being the hype girl is awesome, and building this community is even cooler, because then I have others around me that can hype me up when I need it too. Like so it's building everything that I kind of wanted in the military, like that camaraderie, that true I have your back type of stuff, and like being real, being honest, holding yourself accountable, and also like helping others along the way if you can. I started really, we were doing the podcast like while we were undergrads. So we didn't have like a lot of money. And I think what I also like the most about my journey is that I try to make it affordable, or like I try to have like free options for people who do want to at least try it and, not go into debt doing it. So it's like we were really fortunate we had a studio, but I'm really like surprised and kind of like proud of myself for inspiring others to either start their own podcast or just be more vocal about what they want, their needs, their life, their feelings. Like, I feel like we don't truly allow others to feel everything on like the emotional spectrum. Like, if you're willing to be vulnerable and share your story, like, don't apologize for being angry about how you responded at that time. Like, you have every right to feel that way, and this is your platform to share that on. And it's like a no judgment, truly a no judgment zone. Because again, that negative, like toxic female like stuff is just like it's not tolerated here. I wanted like a fresh start with my own podcast, and I'm like judgment free zone. Like, I know I can be like kind of judgmental and like particular and opinionated, but like judgment free, because like we're supposed to be growing, we're supposed to be glowing. Like, we can't do that if we're still like beating each other up or beating ourselves up for what we've done in the past. So it's like, for example, like I talk about how I used to be a really toxic person and like a toxic girlfriend at one point, and like how I, like wasn't fair to that significant other, and like little things about young love and stuff like that. And like now, like that's my journey. It's like, hey, like maybe karma is real, like this past relationship, that young love relationship, like I'm truly seeing things like full circle. And if I at least don't like share that knowledge, then like how will I help others like avoid that pain? Because like that shit sucks. Like I don't want anyone else to go through it. So, I don't think I really have the attention span to write a book yet, but that's definitely on the list. But yeah, I like being helpful. And again, just like if I can just do this one little thing, like it can really make a bigger impact and bigger movement, hopefully in the future. So that's kind of like that's kind of it. But I'm just excited to see where it's going. Like, it's just so unexpected. It can be anything that you want it to be. So like that's why I'm so pumped for your podcast journey, because it just opens up this like window of just a fresh new perspective, opportunities, and cool people. Like yeah.
Well, you should be very proud because this is a great podcast. There have been a lot of great topics on it, and I'm not just saying it because I'm about to be on it, sis. Just, living in your truth, and that's what should happen for everyone. Like everybody should be living the life that they want, and if this is how you want to do it, you should continue to do it. And, congratulations. I'm very happy to hear that, this is such a positive journey after military for you, and just hearing that statement about the assault, I want to apologize, but I know that wasn't my fault. I naturally want to be like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I wish I could have been there to kill some motherfuckers. You know what I
mean? Like, we would have fucked shit up, honestly, but it's all good. Again, like you did what you did as a leader for me, and I really did admire you. So I appreciate the sympathy, but that is just an inevitable thing, unfortunately. And so that was one of the major things that I felt like I needed to speak up about. I'm like, just because someone wears the same uniform as you doesn't mean that they have your back, or that they won't turn around and try to, hurt you. And that's the biggest thing is like, for my journey, it's been people close to me or people that I knew. And so that really broke up my internal like level of trust within myself and others.
Yeah.
So, and it throws you off. You're like, we talk about, deployments, the enemy, whoever the fuck, or assault, abusers, assaulters, whatever, but they don't tell you that it's someone that has the same, uniform as you, rank, whatever, in the same barracks as you. Like, it's unfortunate, but speaking out about it is what I can do to at least help other survivors and, maybe at least prevent someone from being a victim.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know.
Orange hands. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. We went on a rant, but yes, please tell us.
Speaking about being victims. No, just kidding. Sorry.
Did you beat up Donald Trump?
Oh my God, did I? So for those of y'all that don't know, and my camera keeps moving. I don't know why. It's like we have a fucking ghost in this house or something. I am a bikini competitor, and this last weekend I was a part of a physique show, and I ended up competing in 4 categories, and I ended up getting first place in all 4. And that is something that that actually helped my mental health and to channel a lot of my, anger and anxiety and depression the past 5 to 6 months. And so it's been a very healthy outlet. Like I quit drinking because of it. I will say I did have a celebratory glass of wine, but got a little bit tipsy.
Congratulations. And honestly, hey, sobriety is hard. Like, let's be honest, this shit's hard.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's something, like I have family members that don't know that they were addicts until it was too late or till they had to go to rehab or, do something about it. And so naturally, it was somewhat of a coping mechanism. And when I stopped, I was just like, okay, I actually downloaded a fucking daily sober tracker. And before I had my celebratory glass, I was 4 months and 2 days sober, which I don't see having one glass as something that will set me back because I know what my goals are because I plan on continuing to compete. And next show's in May, and so I don't have to start training until February. But it got me into the habit of eating healthy out every day. But I mean, if I have a few like nice treat meals, as I like to call them, I will. And it has me in the gym or at least doing some kind of activity every day. So I'm happy about it and just channeling that.
Yeah, and you're glowing. And I'm glad that you understand balance with that because there can be sometimes people can be very cutthroat about that. They're cutting, they're very strict. Yeah. So the fact that you can acknowledge balance is super awesome.
Yeah. Like I wanted to do it healthy. Like I didn't want to do like, the same meals every single day. Like I wanted to, up until like 6 weeks out, I still somewhat like ate what I want as long as I was within the caloric count or the macronutrients that I was given or that I gave myself. I coached myself this entire time. I'm very proud of it. And, a lot of the coaches backstage were like, how did you coach yourself? I'm like, well, this is how I did it. But
that's awesome. Good for you.
Thank you. And, it just 6 weeks out, I took out some things, but I didn't take out everything. And then like, that's when I started just like, okay, how can I do this in a healthy way? Like, and that's what I did. And I focused on just making sure I was eating like whole foods, not the store, just whole foods in general. And then like 2 weeks out, oh my God, it's so expensive though. I mean, you got to go to Trader Joe's. Do y'all have a Trader Joe's out there?
Yes, we do. It's
hell yeah. Okay, that's like the best. It has all the holiday stuff right now, and I'm so excited I can buy it now. So.
Actually, thanks for reminding me. That's where I need to go. But yeah, again, I'm glad that you kept that healthy mindset like in the back of your mind or like consciously, like as you're doing everything. Again, I really, really applaud that. So. What will you do in the meantime now that you don't have to train for like a show? Like you'll just do like regular workouts or
Yeah.
Or just
So
kind of take a
my
break a little bit, or what?
So yes, so my focus right now is to gain strength. So I'm going to the gym to kind of build on muscle,
Okay.
and I'm eating more carbs than because I only cut out. I didn't cut out all carbs. I just like kind of lowered my carbs like the last 2 weeks in a way
Mhm.
and manipulated them. But now I'm in like I'm eating way more carbs now, which is like, I'm so happy about it. And I'm trying to maintain the weight I am now because I'm at my goal weight that I wanted to make to be healthy. And I am not drinking every day. And I made it a note to not drink on like a school day, a work night, or like if I have military that weekend, I'm not going to drink just because I don't want to wake up with like a headache or just all that stuff. So, and I also will only drink with other people, whether it's through like video chat or in person or like a celebratory thing. Like my birthday is coming up, so I'm like looking forward to like celebrating. And like I have a pup, so she's gonna be boarded that weekend. So I'm like, I am free. Like, what are we doing? So yeah, I'm just gonna still be healthy, but also like live life and find that balance and just enjoy myself. And then February comes and 16 weeks out comes, that's when I get back into it, but I'll still I'll still eat what I want, but regimented. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm really excited. Those outfits are super cute. So I can't wait to see like what you do and how you prep for that. What are your
I plan on just what's it called? Because I didn't document this last one because this one was personal to me.
Okay.
So this next one, I'll document it.
Okay,
Sure.
good. Yeah. Because I know that there's a lot of like, highs and lows, and it can be very emotional. And I'm not too familiar with NPCs, like national or NP.
Yeah, it's the MPC. I think it's a National Physique Committee or Commission. I actually, so shout out to my league. It's a natural league. Sorry, NPC, but we drug test. No. So I'm a part of what's called the International Physique League. So I got out IPL. It's at Compete IPL on Instagram. I know that because I've been checking it daily. Even after the fact, because I just want to, like, I want to see the photos that they post, because like I'm still waiting for the photos of me from my photographer because all I have are photos from my parents, and it's like in a corner them doing just like like Kris Jenner. I only have those, and I want to post a little bit more, and it's a huge that day was a huge mind fuck for me even after I won because I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? Because I walked in and I saw so many girls and women just in amazing shape, and I started reverting back to like my military mindset, like, oh God, what could I have done better to come with them, and not realizing that I had the package all along. And I like even felt a little bit guilty winning first place. Right. Just because I'm like, but this chick looked better than me. Like I was still like comparing it after the fact. And then it wasn't until my mom was just like, honey, yes, they're ripped, but look at you. And she fucking forced it in my face. And she was like, you did amazing. You worked so hard. Stop. And I'm like, okay, I'll stop. And so I'm just basking in it now. And so,
good. Okay. Yeah. I'm so glad.
I'm trying to fucking find a way to strategically show my work crush like photos of me in a bikini and be like, hey, ask me on a date.
I love it. The subtlety. I love it. Okay. But yeah, seriously, congratulations on that. And I'm really excited to see that you're continuing that journey. So is there anything else that you would like to leave us with or chat about?
Well, I guess I just want to shout out the podcast again. It's we're at Bitch How Pod, BITCHHOW POD on Instagram. You can even inquire us at behowpodcast@gmail.com. Just very excited. December 1st is our first episode. Ruby and I are so proud that we're starting this, and we're just, going to continue and thrive in what we do. And also just to shout out my brother again, Real Boy Sneakers on Instagram. So just give him a follow and take a look at his work. He's doing amazing. So
okay, yes, I'll have that all linked up. Thank you for that. But okay, real quick before you sign off, how do you say it? Like, how's the dictation of your podcast? Like, bitch, how? Bitch, how?
It's bitch how. Like, that's me and Root. So the background of our name, we say that phrase to each other all the time because like a lot of things that happen in our lives or in our family, we're just like, bitch, how the fuck did that happen? Like, how is this happening right now? And so when we were coming up with the names, I just like started typing shit that we say to each other. Like we said, we almost called each other bruh, 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 like the bruh. But somebody else has that. It's like, fuck you guys, man. And we were like, how about Ruby and Des podcast? I'm like, that's not really catchy. And so
I think that was perfect. That's perfect. It's a great name. And thank you for that clarification. I needed to know. I'm like,
bitch, how?
All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much, Deseret, for coming on. For the listeners, be sure to tune in for her upcoming podcast. And if you want to hit her up or Ruby, all the links are posted. Des, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you for coming on. I hope you want to come back on.
I definitely do. We still need to talk about zodiacs.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I know. Miss Scorpio placement. I love it.
Deal. Next episode. I'll write it up. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm just super excited to see like what's coming up for you in your journey.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you enjoyed it.